Now to introduce our speaker. Did you know that how and what you eat has a direct relationship to your mental health? Everything from reducing refined sugar to improving your gut health can help you improve your mental health. Today, I'd like to introduce Renee Stewart, a licensed clinical social worker with her master's from the Howard University School of Social Work. Renee is a working clinician focusing on adolescents and young children. She's the early education mental health specialist for the Lourie Center for Children's Social and Emotional Wellness. She operates a private practice called TwoRoads LLC and is a certified Circle of Security facilitators, providing training on mental health. Renee, welcome so much, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Robin, and welcome everyone. I'm so happy to see some of your faces. I'm going to go ahead and get started because I kind of like the Q&A part of it where I get to hear your voices and hear all of your questions. I do want to start out by saying that I do have a 2-year-old, so you might hear him in the back, the joys of working from home. But I'm so happy that you're here today. I also want to make the disclaimer that I am a licensed clinical social worker. I am not a dietitian. I am not a nutritionist. We actually provided this training to our staff at the Lourie Center. We have a staff full of teachers and family service workers and home visitors. And one of our charges as mental health specialists and our social emotional wellness coordinator is to bring some programming to our staff that's relevant to some of the work that we do. And so we thought we'd liven it up and be fun and sort of talk about food, which we do have a dietitian on staff who collaborated with us to provide this training. And so I just tweaked it a little bit for today because I found all of the information that even I learned while doing our research fascinating, and I wanted to bring that to you all as well. So I hope that you enjoy. And I want to just sort of put a thought in your head about some of the things that we eat and how it does affect our mood, or how our mood can impact what we want to eat. And so have you ever had that, those times where you might be feeling overwhelmed about something, or you might be feeling sort of under the gun? Maybe you've got a lot of work to do and it's the end of the week and you just want to maybe have that sweet or that special food that you want to eat. There's a reason for that. And so we'll get into that. I'm happy to share my PowerPoint after our presentation is done. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. Please tell me that you need me to slow down, and I'll slow down. But like I said, I want to get to the Q&A part because that's the part that I really, really like. So I hope you enjoy today. Okay? And I'll rely on you, Robin, if someone has a question, just because once the PowerPoint comes up, I won't be able to kind of see everyone as I'd like to see them.
Very good. We'll wait for your PowerPoint to ask questions
okay.
Unless something comes up immediately in the chat.
And is everyone able to hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Okay. All right, let me move this silly bar out of the way. And I'll start. Where are you? There we go. Okay. Sorry about this bar, guys. It's sort of an eyesore. I don't know where to move it to, but it'll be there for a little bit. So we're going to explore the connection between food and our mood today. And so one of the things that I wanted you to know today is that, of course, our mental health and our physical health can show in our bodies and on our faces. Of course, you know what it feels like to have a headache or night sweats or an upset stomach. All of those things sort of come to mind when we think about feeling overwhelmed, when we think about feeling tired. It takes a toll on our mental and our physical health too, and I think we all know what that feels like, fatigue, exhaustion. I think over the past 2 years, a lot of us have probably experienced a lot of these symptoms. Some of us have experienced some. But we do know that what's happening in our mind has a physical effect on our body, and oftentimes what's happening with us physically has an effect on how we're thinking. Sometimes we get brain fog and we can't think straight. So we're all sort of interconnected, right? So the link between nutrition and mental health. So we know that a diet is associated with a better mood, and it helps with depressive symptoms as well. Oftentimes a diet that's high in refined sugars, all of the things that we like to eat, all of the stuff that they tell us not to eat that we know is not good for us, that feels good, I call them the feel-good foods, they could have a link to some of the depressive symptoms or lower mood as well. There are some nutritional deficiencies that could lead to a mental health disorder or maybe even a cognitive impairment. And oftentimes, sugar consumption definitely has effect on our mental health as well. So we're going to get into a little bit more of how that works, okay? So these are just some statistics that 1 in 5 adults, which is 20.6% of Americans, have a mental health issue. We know that over the past 2 years, even ourselves, I mean, you can just sort of think about how you've been feeling over the past 2 years with having so much change in our environment, so many changes in the way that we knew normal life, the ways that we do our jobs, having to be home more often. And so these statistics were taken about 2 to 3 years ago, but that was a moment in time. I think what would be reflective now would probably be higher numbers as well that we're seeing, at least in my field, that we're seeing and hearing more people coming in talking about how this pandemic has sort of taken a toll on their physical health, how it's taken a toll on, of course, their mental health, that they're not exercising, they're not really eating the way that they should because they're so consumed with family and work and sort of the stressors that come along with that. As well. Also, anxiety has crept up as well. So 18.1 Americans have an anxiety disorder. So these numbers are still relevant, but I think that just anecdotally, I'm thinking that percentage might be a little bit higher now, just sort of based on my experience and some of the experience of the people around me that are seeing clients at this moment. But that's just to say that we all sort of have experienced this sort of lull in the way that we eat, the way that we feel, and it's just kind of all gotten all mixed in together. So I thought that this quote was interesting. It says, "The doctor of the future will no longer treat the human frame with drugs, but rather will cure and prevent disease with nutrition." So this can be pretty controversial, just because we have this idea in our society, I think, is that they sort of throw medicine at us. And it's nothing wrong with that. But I think that a lot, and again, I'm not a dietitian, but just from my research and from speaking to our dietitian on staff, there's a lot of evidence that points to what we eat and what we put in our bodies having an effect on how we feel, and we know that to be true. Even though we don't think about it, we think, oh, we're having a salad and we feel better. It really has actually, it really does sort of change the course of how our body works as well, and the levels and the serotonin and, our blood sugar levels, that it really does have an effect. So let's think about this. How many of us have had low iron, low vitamin D, low vitamin B12, calcium, okay? How often have you gone to the doctors and they tell you, okay, this level is high, this level is low, you need to balance this out with a pill, okay? We know that food, of course, and some of us need medication to balance those levels out, and there's nothing wrong with that. But this in particular is saying that oftentimes, depending on what we eat, can sort of help to increase those levels of iron, those important vitamins that we need. Oftentimes, depending on what we eat, can kind of increase those levels for us. So this is not to rule out medication, but just to sort of give us more options. If you're a person who particularly wants to be holistic and you want to kind of take that approach, then it might be something in a particular food or red meat or a vegetable or a leafy green that you can eat to kind of um, increase your vitamin intake. So nutrition depletion, it can imitate a mental health disorder. I found that to be true with myself. Sometimes I'll get brain fog at times, and I know that that's because of maybe lack of sleep, or maybe I'm low in iron. But oftentimes, if you have a nutrition depletion, that can mirror a mental health issue as well. And oftentimes it's really hard to tell the difference as well. And so the good part is that we have doctors, we have nutritionists, we have dietitians where we don't have to think on our own. We don't have to worry alone. That if we're feeling this way, we can get help for it. And it could be it could be a nutrient issue, or it could be something happening with our mental health as well. We don't know, and we don't need to figure those things out on our own. So I didn't start out by saying, but I do want to preface this by saying that anything that you learn, of course, here today, and I think you all know, this is sort of just to sort of raise your awareness, but it's not to take the place of any recommendations that you might have gotten from your own physician. Okay, so serotonin and dopamine. So I thought that this picture was funny. This is technically the only two things that I enjoy. So those are our feel good, chemicals in our bodies. So of course, dopamine, that helps us to improve our mood and alertness, and to cope with stress. It can help us to improve our overall mental well-being and functioning. It's also associated with lower levels of depression. So if you think about it, I put like a good workout, for instance, that when you work out and when you exercise, it literally has a chemical effect on your body. Serotonin is more of a mood regulator, whereas dopamine, it helps to improve wherever your mood is. Serotonin helps to just sort of balance us out a little bit, excuse me, or a lot of it. Low levels can increase aggression and irritability. So sometimes when we see, or particularly if I've treated children before, like with anxiety or some behavioral needs, and oftentimes their parents will I'll say to their parents that you might want to go and have them seen by their pediatrician as well, just to make sure that their levels, that their serotonin, their dopamine, and all of the chemicals and things are working the way that they're supposed to work, because we know that lower levels have an impact on our mood. It's not just always a willful behavior, that there could be something happening that we can do something about. Maybe we need more exercise, maybe we need less of this and more of that. And so it's not just a figment of our imagination. These things are actually happening in our bodies. And there are foods that will help to make us feel better, but it might be short term as well. So if you eat a piece of chocolate cake, that might make you feel better, but that's sort of a short term gain. It doesn't last. So we're thinking about something that might be more lasting. And so if you're noticing a decrease or increase in your aggression, or you feel like you're more irritable for some reason, it's worth getting checked out. It might not just be something that you're thinking about. It actually might be something that's happening within your body that you might be able to change. 85 to 95% of serotonin is found in our gut. So have you ever heard the term trust your gut? So when I learned about this, I said, wow, that really makes so much sense. If you think back, can you think of a time where you were anxious about something, or when you were worried about something, and think about where that feeling lied in your body? For me, it's always my gut. Always my gut. It's like right here, right in the center. For other people, it might be someplace else. You might get tense in your shoulders. Something else might, get your attention that's related to your body. Something else might start hurting or just kind of aching a little bit. But there's a reason for that. It's because serotonin, most of it is found in our gut tract as well. So if something feels off, it probably is. So trust your gut.
Sorry to interrupt just a moment, Renee. If a couple of people have mentioned they're having trouble hearing you, so if you could speak up just a little bit more, that would be helpful.
Okay. Is that better? Is that better?
It's a little bit louder, yes.
Is that better?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So what do we do about all of these things? How do we balance our levels out, our dopamine, our serotonin, our mood regulators, all of those things? How can we start to do that? Well, one of the things that we need to do is eat regularly. Now, I'm speaking to myself too, because I don't eat as much as I should, and my trainer has told me that oftentimes we might feel like, well, I'm trying to lose weight, so I don't want to eat too much. But we've got to figure out a way to eat regularly 3 times a day, whatever that looks like, whatever regular looks like for you, right? So 3 times a day, 3 meals a day might look regular for me, but that might not be regular for someone else who has some other things going on within their body and, health-wise as well. So if your blood sugar drops, it can make you feel really, really tired, irritable, or depressed, right? And so regular eating can help to balance those sugar levels out, okay? Oftentimes, if you don't eat all day, and then maybe you say you drink a smoothie, then your blood sugar levels are going to spike up, right? And then that's not really going to feel good. That's going to throw everything off. And so foods high in protein, like nuts and whole grains, you can always just kind of snack on those. So when we say eat regularly, it doesn't mean that you have to have a big meal 3 times a day. It could just mean that you're snacking on foods that help to increase or help to sustain your blood sugar level, so it's not too high or too low. So again, go back. Pay attention to your gut. So the gut is often referred to as, I thought this was funny, that the gut is referred to as the second brain, because it is. It's like when you know something is off, but you can't quite put your finger on it. Some people might call it the third eye. But your gut really does help you to kind of sense out something else might be going on. It contains millions of neurons that communicate to the brain like, hey, I need something. Something is off within my body. Something is off that I'm thinking about. I can't quite put my finger on it, right? So just pay attention to your gut. Some gut healthy foods are rich in fiber and grains. So these are things that you're probably already eating, right? So if you're already eating these things, fruits, vegetables, yogurt, probiotics, bacteria plays a big role in our health and helping us to digest the food that we eat. Pay attention to how you feel. There's a lot of information and research out there about mindful eating as well. So if you're already eating these things, what I want you to do is just pay attention to how you feel even after this. If you say, oh, I already eat that stuff, just pay attention to how you feel afterwards, and if some of this might ring true for you. Okay. So I put good fats, and some people might say, well, fat is not good. We don't want more fat. We want less fat. But there are good fats like salmon and chicken and things, again, that you probably eat, avocados, milk, cheese, eggs. Again, you have to know your body, and you have to know what works well for your body. You might say, okay, I could do the salmon, but I can't do the milk, and I can't do the yogurt or cheese. That's fine. Again, these are just some ideas around what could be a good fat. Nuts, walnuts, almonds. Your brain needs fatty oils like omega-6 and 3. So don't avoid the fat. Just choose the good fats, okay? So you don't have to avoid the bad fats that we want to avoid. I think we all know what those are. Who hasn't had Chick-fil-A or, just something that, you might not eat often, but you know that it's not really any substance to it, but it's just something like, what, it's on the go, it's going to fill me up for the moment, but you'll notice that drop in your energy because it's not really giving your body what you really actually need. And we have those moments. So this is not about blaming. This is about just sort of recognizing that we do have those moments where we just grab and go, right? But at the end of the day, you want to be putting more wellness in your body. Again, if this is about investing in you, take that time and just being intentional about investing in what you're putting in your bodies. Okay, you can't see that. I thought this was funny. So you have the carrot and the broccoli saying, oh, he's no good for you. The French fries. French fries taste good, but they may not be good for us. Now, what you could do is that you can make your own fries. I used to make my own fries, sweet potato fries, and I would get a sweet potato, cut it up, put a little olive oil, salt and pepper, put them in the oven, and let me tell you, they taste better than any fry I've ever had. So maybe we'll talk about that when we get to the question and answering. Have some ideas about what you've done. Hi, baby. So you also want to increase your protein. Protein has amino acids, and that helps the chemicals in your brain to regulate your thoughts and feelings. It also helps to control your blood sugars. With foods like lean meats, fish, eggs, and legumes like beans or lentils, those are sort of like your really good ways to get in protein. Okay. And when it says regulate your thoughts,
the joys of having a 2-year-old.
Yes. He's like, oh, I'll just play while you talk. I'm glad he's doing that and not crying, so that's a good thing.
Renee, you muted.
Yes. So these are just some ideas. I was waiting until Michael left. These are just some ideas of some omega-3s. Okay. So, of course, salmon, sardines, you've got albacore tuna. Chia and flax seeds, those taste really good in a smoothie, or you can just sprinkle them on top of your yogurt as well. It helps with some neurological conditions. It helps with if you have inflammation in your body. The omega-3s have the potential to reduce inflammation. So again, you always want to check these facts up against your own body composition and your own health profile as well. I know for me, at one point in time, this was a while ago, I had a doctor to tell me that you can no longer just eat leafy greens for iron. You need to take a pill because I was that iron deficient, right? And so if someone were to say, all you have to do is eat greens and spinach and things like that, that didn't work for me. I had to have, a pill because I was just that iron deficient. And so I say that to say, check these facts up against what you know in your medical profile, what you know about yourself in your profile. So here we are. This is the slide that I didn't want to type. This is the slide that I don't like. And if you are a coffee lover as much as I am, you probably won't like it either. I didn't want to write this. I didn't want to put this, but it could be true. So we've got to cut down on the caffeine. So does that mean that you can't have caffeine? No. It just means that too much, and I'm a witness to this, it helps me feel anxious. It helps me feel, it creates sort of this jitteriness that I can't focus if I have too much caffeine. Of course, we know that it could interrupt your sleep as well. So, of course, coffee, tea, or chocolate. So this is just another suggestion, that you can sort of take and sort of think about. But I want you, again, to pay attention to how you feel when you drink caffeine, when you take in coffee. How do you feel? Does it make you feel, more anxious? Do you feel like you are not able to focus because you've had too much? Again, trust your gut. Are you putting in things in your body that are actually helping you? So we might drink coffee in the morning to kind of help us and get us on the go, right? And so could there be a time where you might have too much and it's actually counterproductive, and it's not helping you because now you're scattered and you're all over the place and you really can't focus your attention? And that's when we know that it might be too much. So this is the part that I wanted to get to when it talks about making deposits and investing in yourself. So I call them me deposits, right? So making me deposits is really about what can I do for myself, for my health, that will be good for me, and then good for everyone around me, of course. It does no one good if I'm on edge, right? Especially if you have a family, you've got significant others, you have, colleagues or people that you're responsible for at work, or just people you work around. And so making deposits is about you, but I think it will also sort of help you in your environment too. So let's see. So number 5, reinvesting in your physical health. So I like graphics. So I wanted to put a graphic up to sort of give you some ideas, or if you wanted to take a screenshot. I love graphics for that. I remember seeing another PowerPoint, and they just had lots of different graphics, and I found myself just kind of taking screenshots of it because I wanted to remember, right? So reinvesting in your physical health. So what does that mean? It reduces our stress, of course, and we know why. It balances out those serotonin and dopamine levels for us, right? It's those feel-good stressors. It really, really does help you to feel a little bit better. Now, you may drag yourself to the gym. You may drag yourself to go and work out, but believe me, when you finish, you should be feeling a little bit better than when you came in. It does help to reduce depressive symptoms as well. So we know that physical fitness and getting physical and moving helps to mitigate trauma. It helps. I don't know if you all have read the book, The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, but it really sort of talks about how trauma sort of keeps us stagnant and keeps us in one place and isolates us, right? It could have the potential to do that, right? And so oftentimes when we start moving our body, that's why they have different therapies out there, like movement therapy and dance therapy, things like that, because your body is able to sort of loosen up and start to sort of reimagine, reimagine what it's like to reconnect with your body. And so you can do that just by working out, taking a walk, and getting physical as well, getting back in tune with your body, and also, of course, with nature as well. And it helps, again, to balance out those good feeling chemicals that we really need, like the dopamine and like the serotonin. It increases your mood, too. You might be more upbeat. Now, again, this is a long-term reward, so getting physical and being active is not a short-term gain. It depends on how often you do it, but usually it has long-term impacts on your health in a good way as well. And so then there's some other ones that it boosts your brain power, increases your confidence, increases your self-esteem, and it improves your sleep. Okay.
Hey, Renee. Renee,
Yes.
Just a quick check-in on time. You've got about 12 minutes of the session left. So if you want some time for Q&A, we need to move on towards that. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Renee,
Okay.
put it politely.
Renee, the book you referenced was The Body Has Its Reasons. Is that correct?
The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk.
Great. I'll put that in the chat.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so reinvesting in your mental health. Take a picture of this. I love this. It's colorful. It's nice. What does that mean for your body? More sleep, deep breathing, relaxing your muscles. Take a little nap if you can. What does that mean for your mind? Talking about what's stressing you out really, really helps to sort of get it out of your head and onto paper or in someone else's hands so that they can help you. What does that mean for the soul, right? So taking a hiatus from social media or the things that create pressure for us to be, something or see, others doing things. Just take a break from it. Let yourself rest if you're close to burnout, okay? So take a picture of this. I didn't want to skip over it, but just take a picture of it so that you can see it. You can review it. And then the last one is my favorite. Reinvest in your relational health. sometimes we're hurt in relationships and we're healed in relationships. And really what that means is that love is not all we need. We need lots of things. So if you're trying to get back on track as it relates to your health, if you're trying to get back on track as it relates to the types of foods that you want to eat and put in your body, when you get invited out to dinner or things like that, let people know what you're working on. You know, you need boundaries. You know, nope, I can't do this, or I'm not going to order this, or I want to go to this kind of place because that's the place that's going to support my health better because I'm working on my health, and what I put in my body affects my mental health. You know, let people know that you need them. Let people know what's important to you, okay? And how they show their love. Some people show their love through food, family. They want you to eat all of these things, so you might have to kind of create some boundaries and say, you know what, I love that. It looks really, really delicious, and thank you, but I would prefer something maybe a little healthier. So I wanted to put this because investing in your emotional health and helping people to know what your needs are as it relates to you getting back on track with your health is immensely, immensely important. So I'm going to stop there. Sorry I had to go so fast, but I want to take some questions, some Q&A. This PowerPoint goes on and on and on, and I did that on purpose because when you get it, I want you to kind of read it on your own, okay, and see if anything resonates with you, okay? So, ladies, I can take some questions now if there are any questions. Let me just try to stop my screen so I can see you. There you go.
Thank you so much, Renee.
You're welcome.
A couple of questions that I had was touching on the role of balancing your vitamins. I'm thinking of magnesium, potassium, and iron and vitamin C, and how they work together. Obviously, eating a whole diet, helps with that. But what's the one thing that we can really do to improve our nutritional health?
To be honest with you, I would say, and this might sound like a roundabout answer, but one of the things you can do to improve your nutritional health is to be intentional. Is to be intentional about the choices that you're making and let people around you know. Oftentimes we commune around food. Oh, we want to go out, we're going to have something to eat. We want to go, we're going to see family. Of course, you're going to eat. Being intentional is so hard. It is really, really hard. But when you have people around you that know your goals and know what you're trying to do, help them to help you. Let them help you get on board with that. And I would say that that's the biggest. Peer pressure is strong. It's really strong. People, we eat. That's how we communicate. Sometimes.
So bringing other people into our nutritional journey is a really positive.
Bringing other people in will really help, especially with that accountability piece too.
Sure.
We can't do this alone.
One thing I found, I've been on a weight loss journey myself, and one thing that I found is that I will mindlessly eat. I'll be like, just start shoving food in my face. And it occurs to me that, first off, I'm not even enjoying it because I'm not even thinking about what the taste is or what's going on. I'm just shoving the food in my face. And that's been a really difficult challenge, to be more self-aware when I'm eating. Very, very hard.
Yeah. It just takes just a little bit of self-awareness. Not a lot, but just to start somewhere.
If you have a question, go ahead and either raise your hand or throw it in the chat.
So I'm raising my hand, but
Glenda, go ahead.
Yes. So we know that depression, comfort food is linked with depression. So we have a client who is eating and they're depressed, and we could tell them all these healthy parts and what's good for you and what's not good for you. But that linkage with the brain can be a little bit challenging. How do you deal with that?
I think that it depends on the capacity of the client as well. If they're able to understand the link between their nutritional health and their mental health, then you can go there and you can discuss that with them. But if not, they might have to see a specialist to kind of break it down to them a little bit better so that they can understand that what you're putting in your body could be affecting how you feel. But it also depends on that particular client, and it depends on where, did you say depression, Glenda?
Yeah, we know, full disclosure, I am a therapist, so I should have said that before. A lot of parts of what clients with depression do is they eat. They eat because that is their comfort. And it's it's that part to try to help them realize that the eating is creating a physical problem, but the eating is also helping them with a mental one. So, in their minds, I'm not saying it's really happening.
Right.
In their minds, it's helping them with a mental one. And this is not a trick question. This is a dilemma I have had myself. So I was just wondering your point of view.
I think that the way that I would approach it is I would need to know where my client is and sort of how much their depression is impacting them. And if there could be something bigger on the horizon that I need to be aware of. Do you need medication to help to balance you in such a way that you can take in the information about food and mental health? I would need to know where they are first so that we can have that conversation. If you have a client who's able and, again, has the capacity, then perhaps you might have to do some sort of in-person, okay, let's start here and let's start with thinking about the types of food that you're eating and how do you feel. So maybe doing some mindfulness work with them as well in the moment. Maybe they won't do it when they go home and we have to do it together so that you can see and sort of start to feel differently about food as well. So, I mean, I like to bring in, if you want to bring in food and then we just sort of do it there. I think sometimes therapy has to look different for a particular client, especially if you know they're going to go home and they're not really going to try something, but they might try it with you. Then use that opportunity in the moment to say, hey, how did you feel after you ate that? Or what is it like to sort of take in this information? And what do you think was the next smallest step that you'd like to try first? And let's come back and talk about it.
Awesome. Thank you. I like the bringing it in with, because a lot of times we work abstractly. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
Are there tests that they can actually run now for dopamine and serotonin to find out your levels?
That I don't know. I would say that if someone wanted to know that, I would start with their I would start with their primary care, but I would have them to see a psychiatrist as well to see if they might order a test that will be able to sort of test where their levels are. Usually it might come in the form of like a full panel where they're getting information about lots of different levels, cholesterol, things like that. But a psychiatrist will be able to order a blood test so that they'll know of what type of medication they might need, if they need a selective SSRI or just a regular sort of mood stabilizer. But I would think a psychiatrist would be the first place to start with that.
Wonderful. And can you talk a little bit more about the gut health aspect of it? I mean, we all know that we should all be eating our yogurts, but what about other fermented foods and things like that?
I would say the probiotic is, at least in my research, again, I'm not a dietitian, but at least in my research, the probiotic was the strongest that I've seen. So yogurt has different bacteria in it that can help our gut, but then there's probiotics on the shelf that also have a certain bacteria in it that is particular to people who are interested in improving their gut health. So I would start there with a particular probiotic, not just yogurt, but actually purchasing a probiotic.
Right. Very good. Somebody asked, what are your thoughts about the 80% cocoa chocolate bars? Because apparently the dark chocolate is supposed to be so good for us. Thank goodness.
Right. Well, again, I'm not a dietitian. I don't know what they would say, but I would think that that's fine. I think that anything that has less sugar in it would probably be better for us, and dark chocolate does have those great antioxidants in it. So I'm just thinking about if you were to ask your doctor that, or like a personal trainer, like, should I have the Hershey's, like milk chocolate, or should I have dark chocolate? They're probably going to tell you, if you have to have chocolate, do dark chocolate.
Right.
Yeah. If you have to have it, they will probably say none of it, but, we got to have a little fun every now and again.
We are close to time, so if anybody has a quick question that they'd like to ask, go ahead and do that.
These are great questions.
Renee, I just wanted to say quickly that the hormonal imbalance is where my concerns are right now. Just have a couple of them that are out of balance. So the blood work, eating and everything else, but this one hormonal balance is what trips me up.
Yeah, you've got those just very stubborn, and you know what, definitely, and again, my disclaimer is talk to your own doctor about your own health profile. That is going to be really, really crucial because there's lots of information out there about food and mood, but you have to know what's going to work for you as well. But you might also want to get a workup done to see if there's anything sort of mental health-wise that might be impacting your physical levels as well. So I think that was also, I think that might be helpful to do as well.
Great. Renee, I think we're almost out of time. I do want to check that if people want to contact you at some point later, either to ask a question or to get your feedback on something, if that is okay. And I think we'll probably put that in our information about the session that we're doing afterwards, and people can follow up on that if they want to. But thank you so much for this wonderful discussion about the body and the mental health and everything. I've actually learned so much. I was making notes all the time. So it's a wonderful session. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you.